The following program is a production of Pioneer Public Television. Your Legislators is made possible in part by the generous financial support of Southern Minnesota Beet Sugar Cooperative, a highly sustainable, shareholder-driven cooperative that safely produces, processes, and markets sugar while being environmental stewards to ensure future opportunities for its shareholders, employees, and surrounding communities. Additional support by MAPE members, making Minnesota clean waters, safe communities, quality education, and veterans care happen. We work hard for Minnesotans. And by Ask Me Council 5, a union of 43,000 members who advocate for excellence in public services, dignity in the workplace, and opportunity and prosperity for all working families. Live from St. Paul, we welcome you to another session of Your Legislators, a roundtable discussion featuring state lawmakers answering your questions and discussing important issues affecting the citizens of Minnesota. Join the conversation online on Twitter and Facebook. Now here's your moderator for tonight's program, Barry Anderson.
Good evening and welcome to Your Legislators. My name is Barry Anderson. I'm your host for this program and the programs in the weeks ahead as we come to you tonight, Thursday evening, live from St. Paul with Your Legislators. That catchy name for that program is driven by the fact that we have representatives and senators from around the state of Minnesota who are here this evening to help unravel the mysteries of St. Paul. This program is available not only on Pioneer Public Television, but on public television stations throughout Minnesota. But we also want to let you know that we're electronically literate here. You can find us on Facebook, you can find us on Twitter, and you can reach us by good old-fashioned telephone calls. The instructions will appear on your screen. We remind you that this is your program, and we hope that you will send along questions that we can pass along to our panel. So we begin this evening, as we do each week, by introducing our distinguished panel of guests. To my immediate left, regular guest on our program from District 40B, Brooklyn Center, Representative Deborah Hillstrom. Representative Hillstrom, thank you for joining us tonight. Tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you. I'm State Representative Deborah Hillstrom. I represent all the city of Brooklyn Center and parts of Brooklyn Park. I've served in the Minnesota House for 16 years. I serve in the areas of public safety, civil law, ways and means. Those tend to be the areas I work in.
Lawyer by training, tell us a little bit about your legal work and so forth, legal practice.
Sure. So I have been a prosecutor for the Anoka County Attorney's Office. I primarily prosecuted felony level offenses, and now I've recently started doing some private practice work, and so that's a new venture for me as well.
All right, very good. We're delighted to have you with us. Also joining us, frequent guest from District 36, Champlin, Senator John Hoffman. Senator Hoffman, tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
Barry, thank you for letting me come back. I think the last time I was on, we were celebrating somebody's birthday or the anniversary of.
Well, as I recall, we had to restrain you and Senator Abler. So we'll try to get other people involved in the conversation today.
So Jim and I will just take a walk and we'll come back in a couple of minutes. No, I live in Champlin, Barry, and it's great to be back. It really is, and I serve on Education E12 policy and then Human Services Reform policy and finance, as well as aging and long-term services policy, and then energy policy and finance, energy and public utilities. And it's been a pretty start to a fast year already. You're getting a lot of stuff going on, so it's good.
If I recall, you have a background also school board, if I remember right?
Yep, Barry. I 8 years on the Anoka School Board, served as its vice chair and treasurer at one time, and then prior to that I was on a Federal Interagency Coordinating Council, and I advised Secretary of Education Rodney Page on matters for children and families birthday 8 with children and youth with special health care needs. So that's my background. Yeah.
All right, very good. Also joining us, another regular guest with us, Senator Jim Abler from District 35, Anoka. Senator Abler, tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
Well, it's good to be back, and I'm excited to be in the Senate. I spent 16 years in the House with Representative Hillstrom and Nornis, and got to help John Hoffman on the school board, and now I get to be a senator, which is quite a different world. We actually have coasters that we put under our beverages, and But it's really exciting to be there. I'm working a lot with human services and healthcare, and I get to be on higher ed, and the Regents is coming up this soon, so that's big news.
You're chiropractor by training, as I recall.
And by practice, I still work. 38 years. Time goes by.
Very good. And finally, joining us from District 8A, Fergus Falls, last but certainly not least, Representative Bud Nornis. Representative Nornis has been with us many, many times, but tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
Glad to be back also. I represent a good portion of Otter Tail County. I don't know how many representatives are so fortunate to just have one county to worry about. And I don't even have a whole county. I've got just about roughly maybe 2/3 of Otter Tail County. So I'm fortunate that way. I am in my 21st year. Very fortunate to have, it doesn't seem that long, but it is. And in the past, I was at the school board for 12 and a half years. I owned and operated a couple of radio stations in Fergus Falls. Was in that business for about 35 years. And so this is a different career now, this whole political business, and I've enjoyed it. I don't have a birthday, but my wife and I have a wedding anniversary next Friday.
There you go.
So
And
she doesn't want me to tell you how many years we've been married, so.
Well, happy anniversary.
Yes, happy anniversary indeed.
That's
so,
awesome.
Representative Nornis was telling us before we began that if anybody wants to give a review of the program or bend his ear about it, you'll be at the Viking Cafe tomorrow.
In the morning, yeah.
All right, so you catch him at the Viking Cafe.
Right.
All right, so
Until
let's
9.
Till 9.
Until 9.
Until 9. All right. Yeah, don't get there too early. All right. So let's start with some specific issues that have been sort of in the news. We had, in fact, was in the news today. I believe it was in the Minneapolis paper this morning. We'll start with you, Representative Hillstrom. There was some discussion about what lawyers would call a preemption bill, having to do with minimum wage, some workplace standards and things like that. And by preemption, meaning that the legislature would be saying that it's the legislature that's going to pass rules in this area, not local cities. Tell us a little bit about the issue and how it's going.
Sure. So today there was just a big hearing right before I came over in the Minnesota House of Representatives. There is a proposal that says all of the effort that has been made to raise the minimum wage and to bring sick and safe time in local communities, there is a bill to stop that from happening and to say you are preempted by state law and you cannot have anything higher than what the state law currently allows. It is my position that state law is the floor. It says you have to be at a minimum wage, and I actually believe that our local communities should have the right to have the ability to raise their wages higher. I believe that they should have the ability to mandate that people have sick and safe time. So the hearing was packed. They had an overflow room. People were testifying about the impact that it would have on their businesses, both for and against the proposal. I think that I believe Kurt Doudt said that that was one of his #1 priorities to pass this session, and the governor has said he is not in favor of having a preemption. So I think that will be one of the fights that continues on all legislative session.
Senator Hoffman.
It's amazing, and that whole conversation, you hear about it, and it comes back to just what are we doing to assure that our working class neighbors are really being taken care of? And this whole debate about health care, this whole debate about health insurance, and whether we see it as a privilege or a right, and this really gets to the heart of the matter, saying, okay, not only are we going to talk about a minimum wage, but we're also going to talk about making sure we have the safe and sick time that's there. And we know that when we're taking care of our employees, that we're taking care of our families. When we're taking care of our families, we're taking care of our communities. We're taking care of our communities. We're all working more, and we're paying taxes, and everybody's happy. So I hope the discussion leads with that first example, and not either somebody getting pivoted on one side of the angle or the other, but are really caring about our folks on Main Street and our folks that are next door neighbors. So that's,
Well, I'm shocked that we don't quite agree. I am thinking about pivoting and angles and Main Street, but I agree with you on those points. I'm for Main Street. The issue is, uniformity as a business, and actually, should government tell businesses what they have to do? Mm-hmm. And is there a market that people will choose to come to one employer or another? And very frankly, some of the very well-intended ideas that have been put on business have actually driven away some jobs. And minimum wage, I've voted yes and no on different minimum wage bills over the years, and I appreciate the value. But there is plenty of evidence that if you go to the front desk of some restaurants, you talk to an iPad and you don't talk to a person. That's not because of, some of those are because the people had no choice but to survive that way. And so, but by the way, there is discussions even on the behalf of the labor that if there's a matter about some time off or family time, that they couldn't bargain for that, they would be less inclined to get it because the city already has a floor and they can't even do something better. That just came up today from talking to one of my friends. So I think it'll be quite a discussion going forward, don't you think?
He's actually on a point there because there is some of those. There are a few restaurants within, I know, the cities that are really pushing this, both in St. Paul, that actually negotiate their contracts, their union shops, and it's great. And that's where it falls into saying, well, are we having that discussion again to make sure that that person who is within that union shop is having their rights taken care of? Which leads me to say, so look at some of those states that made right to work the law of the land, and you saw, the people's living wages and everything just go to the ceiling, go to the floor on this stuff. And so, but I'm glad we're having these discussions, and I hope we make sure we keep those folks in mind.
Representative Nornis, your thoughts on this whole discussion?
I haven't been very involved in this whole topic, only from what I've heard. I've heard more tonight probably than I have the rest of the session so far. There have been a number of restaurants up in my area, not specifically Fergus Falls, that really struggled. Some have actually closed. And I don't know if that has anything to do with what we're talking about here or not. But the one thought I had, I was touring the Hennepin County Technical School, or Hennepin Technical School, that's a county school. The technical school today, and the one thing that I kept hearing over and over from the instructors of all of the programs that they're offering are the wages that these students are getting. And there's nothing even close to the minimum wage. $13, $14 was the absolute minimum that most of them were getting. Some were getting $20, $30, $35 an hour.
Where was that? I'll go.
So I guess what I'm saying is the freer the market is, in my opinion, the better all of this is. And the less the state is telling people how to run their business, what to pay their employees, and having kind of perks and benefits to give them as well. That would be my ideal situation. Less government, the better.
Well, that is actually the question. Should the state be the one to say this is what you're going to pay, or should you allow local units of government to set these wages with requirements for sick and safe time? I mean, local governments have always had the ability to say, if you get a subsidy, we're going to require you to have certain requirements, right? You're going to have to pay your employees a certain amount, or you're going to have to do other things. So they've always had that ability. And so the question is, do you want to take that right away from your local unit of government to determine what your local standards should be?
Well,
that's the question.
That's where I disagree. I don't think the local unit of government should be involved either. It's strictly the individual businesses that operate in a community should be making all those decisions.
But we already set minimum wage, right? We already say you got to pay them at least a certain. Okay, all right. Well, we'll disagree about that one too. Then.
So the way this issue sets up, though, as a practical matter, and I look to you, Representative Hillstrom, on this one, but the way this issue sets up is the governor, having said that he's not in favor of it, if such a bill passes, the chances are pretty good it gets vetoed.
I think there's a very good chance that would happen.
Right.
I think that preemption and saying that you can't have a higher standard in your community is not really the direction this governor has wanted to go.
So we have a question from a viewer who wants to talk about bonding. And the viewer's concerned about what's going to be in the bonding bill. The viewer wants to know where the bonding money comes from. It's a very practical kind of question. I'm going to look to you, Senator Abeler. Maybe you could start us off talking about the what bonding bill we might see this session, and maybe answer the viewer's question, where does that bonding money come from?
Right, a good way to describe it is a kind of a capital investment bill where we buy big things that are going to last a long time.
And we borrow for it.
And we borrow, yeah. Right. So it's a kind of a borrowing, bonding. We take out bonds, and the state gets a good deal on them, and I think the rates currently are lower than inflation, so it's kind of a good time to borrow money, and you can actually make money on not paying inflation. And so the money actually comes from your viewers. And all of us, and we chip in. But the reason that we would bond is that we spread the cost over time. So if a University of Minnesota building is going to last 20, 30 years, 50 years, then why should the next 20 years of people pay for that? And that's the start of it. And somehow it's gotten more controversial in the last few years.
Any thoughts about what the bonding bill might look like this session?
Well, the Senate has already advanced last year's bill. I think a lot of roads in there, a lot of good university projects, and I would like to see that pass. I think the House is going a different direction right now. But it'd be nice to get it done.
Representative Nornis, tell us about the House bonding.
Well, I really don't know. Can I be honest with this? No.
Yeah.
No.
No, I really am not on the bonding committee, capital investment committee. I do know that there's some interest in doing the same thing that the Senate has as far as getting it done early. The earlier the better for all of the people that are waiting to, throw some dirt around and build buildings and whatever it is. Again, going back to the tour I had today at the school, they got a leaky roof. That's all they want to do to get that thing fixed. So things like that is what's included in the bonding bill. Yeah. But there's always the discussion of how big it's going to be and what's in it. And I'm pessimistic that it's going to happen very quickly, but I hope it's faster than last year. And actually, I'm quite confident it will be, I guess. But what's in it, again, is another question. It would be very nice to just pretty much agree with the Senate and then be done with it. But I doubt
It's always good
that's
to agree with the Senate.
I know.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Representative Hillstrom?
Just once.
Representative Hillstrom, bonding bill.
So I am in favor of doing a bonding bill and doing it quickly. So I agree with Representative Nornis. However, I was told the Speaker of the House said that he wasn't going to do a bonding bill this year, that we did a bonding bill last year and that it didn't become law. So on Monday, we are actually going to see the rural part of some of the investments that need to be done, which is kind of picking apart parts of the bonding bill, which concerns me. I'm for the proposal. I want to pass that bill on Monday, but I also want to pass the rest of the bonding bill as well. And so we need to make sure that we take care of the entire state when it comes to our bonding needs. It's kind of like having a mortgage, right? That's the way I think of bonding. It's not like putting it on a credit card. It's like buying a mortgage for things that you would typically buy a mortgage for. So building for higher education or for some of the other pieces. Usually roads we fund in a different way. Last year's bonding bill had a large amount of roads and bridges in the bill, which is a different than what has happened in the past. I was sad last year because they took my technical college money out of the bonding bill. So the college that you were at last year, they took my money out of the bonding bill, which was a concern. We were higher ranked than others that got funded, and they took our money. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You have 4 votes.
You got 4 right
here.
Right here, right?
Got to get to 60% though in both houses. So
I love it. It was really. I was glad to see the governor come out early, with his bonding proposal, and then followed up, a few days later that the bonding bill that we passed last year, to bring that forward, which is it's important to the communities that I represent, and we touch right there. There's train safety. You got some traffic safety problems right there in Coon Rapids with some of the you got 1 million gallons of crude coming through that town, and there's some serious concerns. And the more we wait, the more there's safety issues right there in Coon Rapids. And Highway 10. I don't know if anybody's been on Highway 10 lately, but Jim was late this morning, and it was funny because I saw the crashes that happened.
An hour.
I know,
I allowed 8 o'clock.
But I like where we're going with it in the Senate. I like the governor's there. I think there's room for discussion. And it's really sad to hear you say that the House just went to, in the case of, why? I mean, this is the time to do it. Our bond rating's the best it's been in a long time. People are in agreement over in the Senate to move something forward, and let's send a message. And it sounds like maybe our good friend Bud Nornis there.
He could broker
too
the
bad you
deal.
still don't own Groovy 12, Groovy 1020 AM. Maybe you could get back on that radio station and get the message shot out, right?
Well, I've got just a couple of things in the bonding bill, relatively small. $2 million that's going to be reauthorized for the city of Fergus Falls, and a little dam project. And what else is it? That's about it.
Well, so I'd like to have a few more things in the bonding bill because they actually took my park money last time, and then they took my community college out of the technical college out of the bonding bill last time. So I'd like to see those proposals get back in. I really believe that the bonding bill needs to be statewide, right? We need to do items that are of statewide significance. And water has been a really big thing that we've all kind of agreed on, that infrastructure is something that Democrats and Republicans believe that we can all get around. Having clean water and the water water infrastructure that we need.
It's a good point. Champlin, for example, the first time we ever got bonding money in the history of Champlin was 2 years ago, and we got the dam taken care of. And to finish that is to really finish up the mill pond to create that fishery again, and that's all about clean water. And that's in both it's in the Senate version, and I know it was in the House version last year.
That's about collaboration. You worked with your Republican counterpart there, and that's the best work, when people actually focus on the work at hand.
It was totally bipartisan.
Yeah.
You're correct on that.
I think it will come down on negotiating. And we're in the process of, I think, negotiating.
That's good.
So a viewer from Nisswa wants to talk about education, K-12, or I guess we could say even pre-K to 12. This viewer is very much in support of the governor's education proposal, thinks that should be the direction that we go. He wants to know what's likely to happen in this session. He thinks elementary and secondary education has been underfunded. Let's start with you, Senator Hoffman. We'll go this way around the table. Tell us what your view is on the K-12 bill this year and where it might go.
Absolutely agree. It's been underfunded. It's been underfunded for years. I think there was a John Myers study that was done a dozen years ago that said we were underfunded. Do you remember that? You were part of that. It was $1 billion. And then at the time, there was years of no money, and then we got 4%, and then there was more years of no money, and then we finally started to ramp it up. I love the fact he's coming at 2 and 2. Given the fact that we have a surplus, I'd like to see it go to 3 and 3. That's what our School Boards Association and our Association of School Administrators are saying, to get caught up. And he's also got in there some dollars invested for Help Me Grow, as well as expanding our flexible preschool options that are there, and you're seeing some great private-public partnerships that are going on with that. So I'm glad to see him come out with a good budget on that, and I'd like to see us move in that direction in the Senate, and I hope the House would do the same thing. But we need to keep that, because we know, Barry, that when we invest in our education system in Minnesota, we really do create the best life that we have. And I'm not going back to seeing Wendell Anderson in the 1970s with a nice walleye on the front page of Time magazine, but there's something true about that, and I think that we can continue that tradition and keep it well.
Senator Abel?
Well, and, actually, both sides, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, all think education is really important.
Yeah.
You can't lose that in the middle of all this. And actually, Senator Hoffman and I are working on a working group on the 0 to 5 with the pre-K part. And there are probably 30 programs that some at-risk children are eligible for. And they're layered and layered, and so our effort is to try to make them effective. Focus on getting that little 1-year-old all the way to 3rd grade and be a reader. And many counties, or Dakota County in particular, has been piloting this. We had 60 people in a room today working on trying to make this go better. And there were, and on a bipartisan basis, there were Democrat senators, Republican senators, and it was really good. And so we're trying to help. Can we make everybody work together? Not politically, but even the service providers at the operational level. Can we touch that child in a way that it's going to move him or her to the next level and help them? 3rd grade reading is key, and early literacy is everything. And so if you can move them through and keep them on track, they're going to graduate and they're going to be successful. 70% of people in prisons cannot read. Do you know that? That's amazing. And so when you get together on what you're trying to do, then that's how the monies go further, and I think that's what I have the hope for.
And what's great about that, Barry, is the discussion for outcomes. You're talking about, everybody talks about how you're going to track those outcomes, and there's been really good discussion about data, and how are we really tracking whether or not we're doing the best we can and getting more bang for the buck. And those conversations are coming out of this group, and that's really been exciting to be part of that.
There's a federal program called WIC, and there's something called SNAP, which is food stamps. Those two federal programs cannot tell each other they're serving the same people.
Yes.
Does your head want to explode?
Well, you aren't going to. I can tell you from what little I know about the law, you're not going to fix that problem in St. Paul. That's a Washington problem.
Well, but
We're working on it.
I do want to, piggyback a little bit on what Jim says, because, there's a lot of discussion about closing the achievement gap. And if people can remember that, children learn to read until 2nd grade, and then by 3rd grade, they're reading to learn. And so if you don't have a good reader, by the time they're in 3rd grade, they're always falling behind. And so if we really can focus our money on those early learners, I believe it's for every dollar we invest in early childhood education, we save 17 over the life of the child. I believe that's the number. So I think that's great. I think it's great that you're working on those programs to
I
get
love
working together.
Scope's Perry preschool model from North Carolina. I love that. It just keeps coming up. You did it. You did it.
I just think it's great.
Thank you.
You know,
Representative Nornis.
I'll just say one thing. I think we all agree education is important at all levels, all the way up through higher ed. And I happen to be more involved with higher ed than I am at K-12, but I do serve on K-12 finance. Right now, we've just been dealing with the agencies, and so it's hard to tell exactly where we're headed, and a lot of that will be determined by a budget finally when we get that set up. But when I include higher ed, the debt, that's what we're working on.
Yeah.
And making sure students come out of the K-12 system ready for college. The one thing that I notice, and I don't know what the reason is for this, but for those students or families that homeschool their kids, there's a remarkable amount of learning that goes on. And I suppose it's maybe the one-on-one or whatever it is. But you don't, I mean, they have a high success rate. And something is missing in the K-12 regular system. And I don't know what it is exactly, but we're missing some link in there. If we have this many that can't read and are having trouble after all the investment we've done over the years, and it doesn't seem to change this gap that we talk about all the time. So I'm just looking for that magic. What is that?
Well,
and I know part of it, if I just continue for a second, it's making sure the kids really want to be there and want to learn. If you can turn them on, because a lot of them get turned off quite early in life. This is very dull and boring. They'd rather be out in recess. So if you can figure out what it takes to get them excited about school or learning, I think that achievement gap would quickly start to go away. But we haven't found that magic yet.
Well, one of the things that we see, I represent a very diverse community with a lot of poverty. And one of the things that we see is if kids are worried about where they're going to sleep or where their next meal is going to come from or whether or not they're going to have a place to live, that they can't focus on learning. And so the high mobility rate, people moving around in my community, is from eviction from the apartments. And so if children don't know that their life is going to be stable, it's very, very difficult to focus on things that are a little more abstract.
So I have more of a parent problem than a kid's problem?
Sometimes it's about the economic ability, right? Having a job that pays well, that you can keep. And again, it gets back to the sick time, having time off to take care of your kids if your kids are sick. If you don't have any sick time and you have a low-wage job and you miss work, you get fired, you lose your apartment. There's many, many things that go into that. And so if we keep this real narrow view about what's working or not working in public schools, we end up blaming public schools for some other societal issues that are going on that we could go a long way to solve some of those issues. So I think our public schools do a great job. They don't get to pick and choose which students they take them all, and they work really hard to make certain that they are dealing with the child as a whole. We need more counselors in the school. We know that works. There are other things that we can do to make sure that those students are supported so they can succeed.
And you saw some great programs. You saw that was a response like More by 4 and Success by 6. Those initiatives came out of it. And, Bud, you're hitting on something on the interest-based thing. We found those studies to be in the birth to 3 thing. And anytime you're interested, that you have an interest in something, the ability to learn is greater. And what they've also seen is if those initial needs aren't being met, then there's not going to be an interest because, again, there's a warning factor in there. That's why you've seen some really good programs. Like in our backyard, Senator Abler, there's a great relationship between the Head Start, early Head Start folks, one of the private child care providers on Hanson Boulevard, and it's New Beginnings, I believe is what it's called, and then the Anoka-Hennepin School District, and they've actually working together on addressing those needs that Bud and Deborah are talking about, and you're seeing actual change happening within those kids and families. So there's some good examples out there. And you guys are hitting both of them right on the head on what to go. So.
I think we talk about it for a long time.
Absolutely.
So,
a couple more hours.
Yeah, we could.
Yes, we will.
Yeah,
but we'll maybe get back to it. We are going to talk about higher ed before we're done tonight, I hope. But I want to go to a question from a viewer from Big Stone County who says, what's the future of the Appleton Prison? We really need the legislature to support this for West Central Minnesota. Let's start with you, Representative Nornis.
I support it, and I know that there's going to be an effort again to bring it up and see what happens. Need to convince the governor that it's a good idea and others. But I believe if there's a need, if there isn't a need, then we don't have to worry about it. But if there is a need, to me that's good for that facility, which is ready to go. It's very, very good for the community that desperately needs more jobs out in that part of Minnesota. And so it's a win-win, I think, and it's state jobs in the end. So you're winning in 3 different ways, and they're good-paying jobs. And I don't think we have to buy it. We can just lease it. And then if down the road we decide it's not needed anymore or isn't working anymore, and you just end the lease. So to me, that's a 4th reason why we ought to do it. So.
Well, I've had many conversations on this issue for many, many years. The governor has made it very, very clear that the only way there will be anything happening at Appleton is if the state purchases it. He is not interested in opening the prison as a private prison or even leasing it and having state employees. And so,
and I think the only thing that's really on the table is either leasing it or buying it, right? I mean, that there's no real talk about going back into the private prison operation.
It's state operated, so it would not be private. It's just privately owned, though.
So, that the governor has made it very clear that he's not going there. And
well,
so
he can be convinced.
I think that's probably a non-starter, especially, we had a tragedy in this country just yesterday, right? Inmates took over a prison and murdered one of the guards. It was an AFSCME worker. The state has an obligation when you take people into custody and you are in control of their movements. The state has an obligation to, one, keep those inmates safe, but to also keep the workers who protect them or protect us from them safe as well. And so we know over time, and I can go back through history and have many, many times, we know that private prisons do not do as well.
This is not private.
Do not do as well in terms of those kinds of issues. And so the fight is always public versus private or lease versus sell. At this point, the governor has made it very, very clear that you got to buy it or it isn't going to open. He's all in favor of economic development and making certain that the community gets what they need, and they need jobs out there. I don't disagree with that.
If you can buy it cheap enough, fine. I don't care. But to me, that's a waste of state money.
So
they shouldn't be talking all this.
So, well, that's okay.
I'm sorry, I get real.
This is okay, Jim. Compared to us.
We're going to be jumping across the table here pretty soon.
And people feel really, really passionate about it. People feel very, very passionate about this issue. And we all believe that the community needs to have jobs. We get that. We know we need good paying jobs. But the number of prisoners that we have in Minnesota will not fill that prison. And so the only way to lease it and actually have state workers run it and do it is to have more people in than you are currently sending, which is a cost driver. In many instances, contracts with these private entities to run these prisons, they have a minimum number of people that have to be in the facility. And so it becomes very, very controversial and then becomes about liability. And frankly, we don't disagree that the area needs workers. We don't disagree that they need good-paying jobs. The question is that what the state needs?
Based on what you're saying, we don't have enough need then. I assume they were all going to be state, not employees, but inmates. But if it is, so I can learn.
Yeah.
Senator Hoffman?
More to be learned.
It's interesting to hear this conversation. That my end on this was Senator Dan Schoen. Actually, is a law enforcement officer, and went out there and the same conversation you and Bud are having, that he brought that up as well. And again, I thought there was a need as well, like Bud just said, and you're saying that that the population wouldn't fulfill that piece. So I'm glad people are taking a hard look at it. Yeah, jobs need to be developed out there. People need to be working again, and there's that piece of property that's sitting out there. There's got to be a way that we can utilize that to help create the incentive for doing that. And so it was good to hear this conversation.
Senator Abler?
Oh, I thought we beat this topic to death. But
All right, that's fine too.
Just say thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, all right, very good.
Good night. Drive safely.
Don't go anywhere, folks. We're not done yet.
Fellow tomorrow at the Viking Cafe, that's what he's going to ask me about.
He is,
Yeah.
absolutely, and that's what Dan was saying. He was there. He grew up in the area as a kid, and he was saying what's. I
thought you were done with this topic.
I know.
Oh, sorry.
All right.
So let's talk about higher ed. This is a funding year not only for K-12, but it's also funding year for higher ed. And maybe we'll start with you, Representative Nornes. You sit on that committee. What do you see happening in the budget situation for higher ed, and any comments about that topic generally?
Well, we've had requests coming from both the university and also from Minnesota State. Did I say that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You did.
$600,000.
Okay.
for that title.
I keep saying
That's a
Minskill.
separate story.
Minskill.
So I still do that too, but I'm glad.
But, so we know what I'm talking about.
We do.
So we've had requests from both of those two major parts of our higher system here in the state. And so right now they're just requests, and we don't have a budget, so it's premature to indicate even how close we will be. But I think the overwhelming goal is still to address tuition, and if we can continue to freeze or lower the Minnesota State tuition. The students really enjoyed that little breather this year, and if we can do that again, that'd be fantastic. And that's going to depend on how much money we're going to have to work with, because it can't come out of the individual campuses. They're squeezed as tight as they can possibly be. And the same thing at the university. We're not sure. Right now they're talking about a 2.5% increase in tuition. I mean, they're starting high. So we're going to be pushing down as much as we can to see if we can't have them stay pretty close to what Minnesota State winds up with. So even their students, although they don't have the problem that other campuses do with not enough students, they are lucky enough to have pretty good enrollment at most of their campuses. But still, I think tuition is going to be the main thing that we're working on. The governor has added about $70 million in the state grant program, I think. And that's also targeted towards the students, because right now that's fairly well funded already. But with additional money, you could have raised the cap a little bit, so all of the students would be able to get additional money to help them pay the tuition and living expenses and whatever else they need. So it's those two things: university, Minnesota State, and the grant program are the three main things that we're dealing with.
Can I ask a question, just because I don't know the answer to this? So if you raise the cap on the grant program, does that have a tendency to shift more money to the private colleges, or is that only money available to the state-operated campuses?
It would tend to, first of all, help the university, because their tuition is a little higher, and it would help the higher tuition that the for-profits or the privates have.
So it would be permitted to go to them?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Minnesota State students would still benefit some, but in general, they're not. The tuition is lower in the first place. So, but it's all helping. It's any little bit we can help. And then there's a few bills floating around that would help to reduce the burden on. If you got a debt, some ways to probably factor in a little relief. And we had three actually yesterday that passed and went on to the tax committee. And we'll see what they look like when they wind up over there. And
Senator Abler, your thoughts on higher ed?
Well, actually, I've got quite a few. I get to serve again, which is nice to be back. But people don't realize that whatever the aid is, that a student has to pay at least 50% of their share. If they're wealthy or poor, they still have 50% personal share, even given all the grant programs. I didn't realize that until this year. But one thing that people don't talk about a lot, we want to give money to the U or to Minnesota State and reduce debt and all that. Little attention seems to be going on the cost of what drives it all. The faculty tuition increases always exceed inflation by a lot, sometimes twice. And the faculty's not getting it. I don't know if the pencils cost that much more, but I've always struggled to understand why is it going up so much. And little attention in the whole systems is about driving down costs. The university is not known for being a frugal place. And with Minnesota State, with their large central office structure, a lot of us think that could be a little leaner and pushing the resources out further. And so there's a lot of elements to it. But it's really important that we make sure everybody who wants to get a higher education degree and be what they can be gets the opportunity. In particular, some of the students of color who have had a disproportionate time getting through even high school and into college, because we need them to be the leaders they could be and be tomorrow's executives.
Representative Hillstrom?
Well, so one of the areas that I've paid a lot of attention to in the higher education area is some of these private for-profit colleges, and that's one of the reasons why I asked, because again, I represent a community that has a large population of people who are poor. And we had many incidences where these private colleges were targeting our students who could not otherwise afford to go to college, and they were selling them programs that they didn't need. The Attorney General sued these private colleges because one of the programs they were offering was a law enforcement degree. But what they didn't tell you is even if you got through the program, which most didn't, you couldn't even sit for the law enforcement exam. It didn't qualify.
It wasn't accredited.
It was an accredited program, so you couldn't even sit for the exam. So they were sued. They stopped offering that program. Another program they were offering was in the area of corrections. They were saying you could be a corrections officer when you're done. Well, when you were done, if you completed the program, the only job that you could actually get in the corrections field was a job that you only needed a high school diploma for. Anything that you needed that degree for, this did not qualify for. So, in fact, the Attorney General sued them, made them stop targeting these students who were poor with programs that they couldn't afford to do that had a very bad success rate. And then if you did succeed, you couldn't get a job. And so I've been paying very close attention to that and working on that issue while I've been in the legislature.
Representative Hillstrom, you had a colleague, I believe, from the Winona area who's been with us on a couple of occasions, and he's very much focused, particularly on Minnesota State, on administrative expenses. And I think he would argue, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think he would argue that you're correct, Senator Abeler, that a lot of money has gone to expanded administrative services that maybe aren't as necessary. And I'm wondering if you're hearing anything about that topic or if that's an issue that you've been following at all.
Actually, not as much. I've actually been following more of the student debt, right? I mean, we know that our students are coming out with large amounts of debt, and having a son who just graduated from college and moved back home, I can tell you from experience, and having a daughter who just graduated from law school a few years ago, I can tell you it's so expensive to graduate from college that you almost have to move back home and live home so that you can afford to
So that's what I didn't want to interrupt, but that's
okay.
we hear a lot of that. But if you talk to the university or some of these administrators, they'll tell you nearly half of the students leave without any debt. So those that leave debt have a lot of debt, but there's some that are somehow able to figure that out and will leave with either very little or no debt. That's in the undergraduate area.
Yep.
And if I could add one more thing. Today when I was visiting over the tech school, the thing that I really was impressed with is how they have structured their programs to suit the students.
Yeah.
So many of the students are working, and they have intern programs. And it's whatever fits for that student is what they do. Nighttime, whatever day of the week. I mean, some of these instructors are there from 8 in the morning until 10 o'clock at night, because that's when the students can be there. And I thought that's fantastic, because they're not structured like you think, where you come at 8 and you go home at 5. Whatever the students need is what they're delivering. And I think we need to see more of that. And then you'll see less debt, more graduations, and the jobs are out there.
That's it's where he was at today. That's where the Ford. Did you see where they do the mechanics, the technicians training for the Ford Consul? Isn't that amazing stuff, Bud? Isn't it? And the diesel mechanic shop.
The semis. They've been working on a bus
for years. They've been doing that there. And the other thing that it's really amazing about our, I'm going to say MnSCU system, but Minnesota State. Doesn't that remind you of the show?
They spent $600,000 to come up with that name.
I get to hear this all the time.
Never mind the administrative costs.
I could have done it for nothing.
You and I could have.
You could have had a show.
My wife.
Callers could have called in and said, "What should we call?"
We have a real
great
fixation on that $600,000.
And Jim will keep saying that until the end. It's funny. You and my wife could have done that, because she's a Brown Institute grad as well as you, and did radio and television.
We would actually come up with a better name.
I love that. That's even good. But here's the thing, very seriously, that MnSCU, our Minnesota State system, 86% of the graduates from our statewide systems actually stay in the area where they're from, and they end up raising families, buying houses,
That's
getting
awesome.
jobs. That is so amazingly awesome when you look at good outcomes that are there as well. And some of the things we're doing, I was just at Century College the other day, and they have a partnership with MIT. They have this Fab Lab, and in conjunction with their orthotics department, they're coming up with ways that they're doing things beyond what you would think is really happening. And so there's some really wonderful, innovative stuff going on within our systems. And one more, Anoka Ramsey Community College, right?
Yeah.
top 10
Top 10.
nationally, and actually I think they're in the running for number 1, right, Bud, or something?
I'm not
2
sure
or
about
3?
that. Don't they have a high school joining that program?
That would be
That's
named.
Anoka Tech.
That would be
Anoka
Anoka
Tech.
Tech.
Okay.
STEP
Another
program.
fine Anoka County.
Do you know who
I-
named that school, Bud?
He named it?
He named STEP.
Really?
For free.
Didn't cost $600,000?
Thanks, Barry, you pulled that one.
I can see that coming from 2 miles away. All right, so we're going to leave higher ed because all we're going to do is talk about the $600,000.
We're going to find
Let's-
the money, and we got to find some breaches, and then we'll move on.
So let's go to Centerville, where a viewer wants to know about the Real ID bill, wants to know what's going on about that. I see that Senator Newman, who's been with us in the past, was quoted today that the Senate bill apparently is focused solely on the Real ID bill. Let's go to you, Senator Hoffman.
I know Senator Pratt and Senator Schoen have been having conversations about getting, a good product at the end of the day, because you know what? By next year, if we don't have something, we're not going to be able to go certain places. And so we really need to do something within Minnesota. And it's good to hear that it's a bipartisan discussion over in the Senate. Again, Senator Schoen, Senator Pratt are having conversations about what that looks at the end of the day. I don't know what the House is doing on this.
Representative Hilstrom?
So we've actually had hearings already this legislative session. I've heard it in at least 2 committees already. The Senate is, in my opinion, is doing a better job right now. The Senate.
Say that again, will you?
Yes. Right now.
Can we get a mic check
Yes,
on that?
Right now, the Senate is, in my opinion, is doing a better job. So the question is, do you just deal with the Real ID issue and becoming compliant so you can get on an airplane, or do you do a dual track system and have non-compliant licenses? And then if you have non-compliant licenses, what do you require of them? And so right now, the Senate has just the Real ID provisions. The House's bill has both dual track system, and then what they have said, the non-compliant dual track, the non-compliant licenses.
That'd be the current license.
Well, it
Right.
is the current license, but we have current licenses, and then we have
There's an enhanced license.
enhanced license, and then there's going to be Real ID, but they changed the requirements even from the current license in this bill. And so that's where the controversy has come from. That's where folks have been showing up at these hearings saying there's no reason to do this change in the dual track system. So I actually hope that we adopt the Senate language.
And Barry, something else at the heart of this. This law was passed some years ago. I don't remember just what year, but
2004, I think.
2004. Thank you. But
That's what we were told last week. So-
Okay, well, we'll go with that since none of us really know. But the part of the federal language is that it's, if you want to go to a nuclear power plant, and we just go there every day, federal installations or to fly, you need this ID. Or for any other purpose that the Homeland Security guy can tell us.
Right.
And that's what scares us. Any other purpose.
Correct.
And liberals are concerned about it. Conservatives are concerned about it. Like, what if we need it to go buy food, for instance? Or what if we need it to buy something? And it's just very frightening. And they never should have written it that way. If they fixed that, there'd be much less angst. But I think the Senate's going to move along. And part of the other issue, just is immigrant driver licenses, and that's rolled into all this discussion, which is
On the House side, as I understand it.
on the
right?
House side,
Right.
but it's swirling around all of it, and that's very controversial. You could do a whole show just on that, and not today, I hope. But
Yeah,
that's
right.
that's all these issues around it.
It'll cost more than $600,000.
There you go. Representative Nornis,
I
your
think,
thoughts on this?
I think in the House, honestly, it's kind of stalled out for right now until it's worked out somehow. I'm not sure how, and there's concern or fear that what this card is going to have on it that the government or somebody's able to access.
privacy
I don't know
fence.
how that even happens, because you go and apply for it like you would any other. Do they do a background check, or how do they? I mean, so I don't know what's really different about it, other than it is different.
Encrypted satellite photos.
Well,
There's something about it.
They,
But,
they
so
do
if you
do
can,
checks.
What was
They
that
do
show?
checks, and that is what is different than
so when you
current.
apply, you're going to have a background.
So
But
basically,
what does that background check do?
Well, so they confirm your residency status, they confirm some other things, and that's what the debate has been over, right? What checks should be made, what checks shouldn't be made, who should do them, how long should they take?
To me, this is another case of government, federal government, overreaching. period.
I don't disagree.
You know?
But the question is, we have to deal with it in order to get on the plane. It's kind of the,
Ultimately, absolutely right, Barry. You know,
But you
we
can still
sit
bring your
there-
passport.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then you can go if you wanted, barring everything else.
Well, there's a passport card, and actually the enhanced driver's license
Does
actually
almost the same
complies.
thing.
Right. So there's a passport card that you could use. There are many other documents, but folks are getting kind of hung up on this Real ID, and it isn't a Democrat or Republican issue.
I
And the
understand.
Chamber of Commerce even testified that
Right.
they hope that we take care of the driver's license issue, and so it isn't. It isn't.
I
it
think
isn't
we've
partisan.
confused your viewers.
And
I
when
think
this-
they're worse off
She
than
asked
when
a
they
simple
started.
question, and they'll
And when this first surfaced a few years ago, the
love it.
vote in both
Yeah,
the House
nothing.
and Senate was almost unanimous against it.
Correct. That's exactly right.
So there you go.
So a viewer from Chaska wants to talk about fishing licenses, and this viewer thinks fishing licenses cost too much and the legislature should do something about it. This viewer also thinks the DNR wants more and we need to stop that. Well, I'm not sure what we can do about the DNR, but is there any discussion about fishing licenses or outdoor hunting and fishing kinds of issues? Who wants to take a run at that?
The DNR is attempting to raise all those
Yeah.
fees, including your state park fees and everything else.
But people should know that that's dedicated money that goes to
back.
buying more fish
Yeah.
and keeping the
Yep.
in the stocking programs. And so if you want to catch a fish, then maybe it's a good investment. And a lot of the anglers believe it's necessary and that should be done. Clearly this one doesn't, and I don't blame them. So, but it's a hard thing. Some of those costs have to come from somewhere.
Several years ago, the state parks raised the fee, and then they found out that there were fewer people coming to the park. So actually, we lowered it then.
Yeah.
And I'm concerned, I've heard that there are fewer fishermen. And now we're going to raise the fee for those that are still fishing. And to me, you can slowly discourage even those that are still fishing if it's getting, I don't know what the fee is right now for a license fee, or a license for
13
fishing.
bucks or something. It's like, is that one of those constitutionally dedicated sources? Was that like you do with
don't
like the
know.
ATVs and snowmobiles and such? But it is. It absolutely pays for, restocking our fisheries and our beautiful walleyes that we have.
That's
and
my
our
fishing
great
license. Let me
muskies.
look here.
How much was it this year?
So
13 bucks?
I don't know how much the increase is.
Field
either.
trip.
$23.
23.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. We have documentary evidence.
Data. We have
We'll
data.
market and introduce it. All right.
How
So we
many
don't
fish
have
did that buy?
So we don't have a solution to the fishing license problem. Let's talk about
2 fish.
transportation in the 4 or 5 minutes we have left, and what this session is likely to bring on that issue. Let's start with you, Representative Hillstrom.
Well, I was hoping we were going to start with Representative Abler because
start-
I know that Representative Abler has broken a transportation backlog previously.
Senator Abler, then. We'll start with
Senator
Senator Abler. We'll take advice.
Well,
Go ahead.
it's like those fish. The fish aren't free, and neither are roads. And we do collect maybe $2 billion a year in gas taxes and funds that gets spread out. But the need, and about 62% stays with the state, and the rest of it goes to cities and counties to do their road work. It turns out if you take all the money that there is, there's not enough to buy hardly anything. And if you look at the demand, and it's like your house is wearing out and you have a minimum wage job because your city wouldn't let you raise the rates. Oh, maybe I'm mixing the topics here. But after a while, you run out of money to fix the water heater and the furnace. And that's really where we're at. And that's not visible to people. And so we've been trying to find ways to stretch the money as far as it can. And I predict we'll find a way to stretch it a little further.
I love it when Jim gives. You should have brought the pickle jar comparison into that conversation.
That's a different one.
But the real issue is you get $6 billion over a 10-year period. We're completely underfunding our transportation, and we know there's less and less gas cars on the roads. You got electric vehicles. You got some other things that are happening in there. Where are you going to get the new revenue? Now the real debate happens. Do you take it out of general fund, or do you create new revenue streams? And
tax
that's
the
where
electric cars.
Exactly. You don't. But you're onto something. But I'm concerned that at this debate, we need a transportation infrastructure fix unless we're willing to put more money into that, other than going into the general fund, because you have a problem in the state of Minnesota. Our elderly population by 2020 by 2020 we're going to have 965,000 people over the age of 65. Right now it's at 635. You have 850,000 kiddos in the K-12 system. For the first time in the history, you got more people in retirement than you have in the K-12 system in Minnesota. Fast forward, I'm going to be short on this, Jim. Right now the medical assistance bill for folks 65 and older on the general fund is $1.1 billion or $1.2 billion. It might be off by $1.1 or $200,000. Go forward 10 years from now. Now that it's going to be $3.5 billion. So there's going to be a constant battle in the general fund in order to take care of those folks that we're getting older and older. And yet if people start talking about, let's take transportation funding out of the general fund, now you're competing interests here. And that's not a good debate to be having here. So.
And that's why we're debating about bonding, having roads and bridges in the bonding bill for the first time.
There have been some major road projects in the Twin Cities especially. I just drove on 694 the other day for the first time, because the last time it took me like an hour to get from this point to that point, which normally would take me about 15 minutes.
Right.
But now it's done, and it really, and St. Cloud, there'd been a stretch of that highway that was so rough it rattled your teeth. That's all done, all fixed, both directions. So we've had some good projects. I see the biggest need in my county, or maybe other rural counties too, where they're really limited on the amount of money they have to work with.
Right.
And so if I'm in this debate about transportation, it's going to be about the roads that we drive on back home, where our farm, all of the commerce, vacationers, we're a vacation country, a farm country. I mean, those roads are really important. So
just to wrap up, we need more money, and people all want someone else to pay. So that's my concluding thought.
Representative Hillstrom, the last 30 seconds or so on this issue.
On transportation, I just think that we can't build our way out of congestion because we are growing at a faster rate than we can build. And so we need to figure out alternative transportation, both in greater Minnesota and in the metro area as well. And so that really will be the push and pull in the discussion, I think, as we go forward as well.
And this is a general funding year, so transportation will be one of those things that's in the budget.
It should be.
And we have a new chair in the House dealing with transportation this year. So.
All right, so we have reached the end of our program for the evening. I want to thank our panel. I want to thank you, the viewer, for joining us. I want to remind our viewers that we will be with you every Thursday night in the months that follow until the legislature goes home, whenever that might be. And we hope that you will be with us each of those weeks. Thank you and good night.
Thanks, Barry.
Thank you.
There's much more about Your Legislators online at pioneer.org/yourlegislators. Find out more about the history of the program, who has been a guest, and watch past episodes and discussions by topic. There's also a photo gallery, informative links, and much more. To continue the conversation, follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you for watching Your Legislators. Your Legislators is made possible in part by the generous financial support of Southern Minnesota Beet Sugar Cooperative, a highly sustainable, shareholder-driven cooperative that safely produces, processes, and markets sugar while being environmental stewards to ensure future opportunities for its shareholders, employees, and surrounding communities. Additional support by MAPE members, making Minnesota clean waters, safe communities, quality education, and veterans care happen. We work hard for Minnesotans. And by Ask Me Council 5, a union of 43,000 members who advocate for excellence in public services, dignity in the workplace, and opportunity and prosperity for all working families.